Just good afternoon, students, for today's second session of SAP. Before we start the class, there are one announcement I'm making in a QA section. Just look into it first. See, we have sent you a login credentials mail, how to register in energy platform. If you have not received any mail, might be it went to the spam and it got deleted automatically. So I'm sharing the step-and-step guide how you can log in to the energy platform where you can access the course content and many more details related to SAP. Before starting the class, you can, after the class, you can log in and check that things. Now we have Nagraj sir with us for today's session. Nagraj sir, you can continue with your class, sir.
Okay, thanks, Kunal.
Most welcome, sir.
So uh, we had stopped at the organizational structure, and so basically, I would also want to add one more word. Probably it is a skeleton on which all your components comprising of the organizational structure they are built. So basically, the organizational structure can also be defined as a skeleton on which the organizational objects or your organizational elements are arranged to complete the structure. Clear? Now, why I redefine this particular organizational structure? Why did I do it? Because now we saw the most essential and the most mandatory component which actually starts the financial activities in the SAP. It starts with the client, and importantly, and the very next important and the most compulsory or the most mandatory component which you create for the financial activities is something called as a company code. Just before lunch, we try to understand the company code in a much better way. So it is a legal component. It independently generates all the financial information. Perfect. Now, what else about the what else about the company code? Basically, in any of the SAP systems across the globe, you have the presence of this particular entities, that is 0001 or 100 as the standard company codes. It can be and also. Both may exist, or at least one of them will definitely exist in the standard SAP system or in any of the SAP system on which you will be working upon. You'll find either both or at least one. Okay. And why the standards? Just hold on for a minute. Just hold on for some time. I will tell you why SAP has provided something called as standards. So what was the other standard that we studied in the morning? It was with regards to the leading ledger 0L. Actually, our discussion as regards the standard started with the 0L, which is a standard leading ledger defined in the SAP system. Okay. Now, when we broke for lunch, when we took a break, I think I need to log in again. So you see a new term called as chart of accounts. Now, why I use the term the organizational element is This is a very, very critical element which actually starts the financial activity after the financial consultant. Please mark my words, the financial consultant, the finance consultant is the owner of this particular entity, the company code. And now we are talking about the chart of accounts. Now, what exactly is this chart of accounts? And I think probably the whole of these 2 hours, that is up to 4 o'clock, we are going to talk about only the chart of accounts. Clear? So be prepared for such an exhaustive coverage of this particular topic, because you being from the finance background, you need to understand the importance of this particular entity. One of the most integral part of the finance organizational structure, one of the most important and the mandatory organizational element created by the finance consultant after the creation of the company code. Now, what is this chart of accounts? Let me make a note of it in the Excel sheet. So the next important thing what we need to study is chart of accounts. Chart or charts of accounts. Organizational element created by the finance professional as soon as the finance person creates the company. Also, this is one of the first and the foremost master data which the finance person creates. Now, what is this? A chart of accounts is necessarily nothing but simply say your chart or charts of accounts is nothing but a master list of all the general ledger accounts which is being used by the business. What do I mean? Suppose I am bringing in SAP for Hindustan Unilever Limited. Hindustan Unilever Limited has to do some financial transactions. How do you achieve a financial transactions? Through a transaction. How does a transaction start and end? Through a general ledger account. Suppose I want to debit. Okay, so I don't have to tell you what is a debit or a credit, right? Suppose there is a, I need to pay out to a, I need to pay 500 rupees for some stationery expense or for some purchase of stationery. What do? I raise a journal voucher and enter the transaction against that particular journal. Correct? Expense account debit to cash or cash. Normally 100 rupees, 500 rupees, you expend cash. So this is going to be your entry. Let me put down that entry. To enter this particular transaction, or you can also stationery account. Okay, stationery expense account, debit to cash. You must be having these 2 general ledger accounts. Stationery account, your cash account. You need to have these 2 general ledger accounts. Where is this 2 general ledger accounts existing? It is existing in a master list called as your chart of accounts. So your chart of accounts constitutes or contains all the general ledger accounts which is being used by the business. Your salary account, rent account, wages account, overtime account, your maintenance account, your salaries account, whatever. So do you see how exhaustive this chart of accounts can be? So it contains all the general ledger accounts which is being used by the business. Clear? Now, so this is the first and the foremost master data created by finance person. Now let us read some more from the. You must specify one chart of accounts for the general ledger. You must, this chart of accounts is supposed to get assigned to a company code. That is what the second line says. The chart of accounts is to be assigned to a company code. What do I mean? You have a company code, legal entity. You have created a chart of accounts. How does the SAP system know that your company code should be using this set of general ledger accounts? You have to set up the relation. This setting up of relation is called as, I don't know if I can tell you now. That's okay. I will. This is called as just let me try to get that particular term. Variant principle. Variant is nothing but an entity. That is all. So here, what is the variant principle followed in account, followed in SAP? Not only in the finance module, it is uniform. This variant principle applies to all the modules. So what do we exactly do here? We define a element. We populate this element with information. Like, for example, if I say chart of accounts, I define the chart of accounts first. I create the chart of accounts. Then with what is it created? It is created with the general ledger accounts, which is called as population, and providing the general ledger accounts into that master structure definition. Then assignment or assign. What is this assign? I have defined the company code and the chart of accounts. I have also brought in the set of general ledger accounts in my chart of accounts. Now, how do I tell SAP as to this company code is following this set of general ledger accounts? I'll have to tell it, right? Because if I'm working on 3 different projects, say, for example, Hindustan Unilever, Reliance, Tata's. So do I have only the same general ledger accounts for all the businesses? Not at all. Hindustan Unilever may be using, or definitely will be using, set of other general ledger accounts. Reliance will be using its own set of general ledger accounts. Tata's will be using their own set of general ledger accounts. Clear? So you'll be having 3 different master structures for these businesses. So I would have to explicitly tell SAP that this particular set of general ledger accounts contained within this master chart of accounts is going to be used by HUL, Hindustan Unilever Limited. The master structure number 2 will be used by Reliance. The master structure number 3, the master chart of accounts number 3 will be used by Tata's. This is, you are establishing a relationship between the company code and the chart of accounts through a process called as assignment. This is the standard principle followed in SAP. You first define the organizational element or whatever will be the variant. Second is you provide this with information. Third is you assign it to the company code. Clear so far? Let me get back. This is the exact meaning of is assigned to the company code in the configuration. Configuration is nothing but the process of building up the SAP system for a specific business, or rather implementing partner. So my company is IBM. I'm assuming that I'm working for IBM. So I am working on 3 different projects. Okay, so whatever I do to suit the businesses of my customers, or maybe say the implementing partners, the process is called as the configuration and is referred to as the operating chart of accounts. So the master chart of accounts, which gets assigned to the company code necessary for its day-to-day operations, is called as operational chart of accounts. Just give me a minute. Operational COA is your COA is chart of accounts. Mandatory or compulsory, because when you try to carry out a financial transaction, SAP should be in a position to pick up the general ledger accounts, right? If the general ledger accounts, they are not there in the SAP system, how do you expect it to accept the transactions? How do you think SAP system is going to accept this transaction if the stationary expense account is not available or the cash account is not available? Is it possible for the SAP system to understand this transaction? No. That is the reason as to why this becomes mandatory. The setting up of the relation between the chart of accounts and your company code is mandatory. Now, is there something which is not mandatory also? See, the use of operating COA is mandatory. Clear? Besides the operational COA, there are the group COA and the country COA. So you have which may not be mandatory. Why is group chart of accounts mandatory? Only when you have the mother company and the company code concept. Only when you have the consolidation. Only when you have the scenario. You have the mother company, you have the group company, and you have the reporting company. Only in this scenario, you will have the group chart of accounts as mandatory. If there is no such concept, I said creation of a company is not mandatory, not compulsory. Creation of head office is not at all compulsory, but creation of a company code is compulsory. Same thing holds good for your chart of accounts also. Only when you have the mother and the child relationship, you have the group chart of accounts. Else, you do not have the concept of group chart of accounts. What is country chart of accounts? At least I have not used a country chart of account. I don't remember in my 18 plus years in SAP. I do not remember having used a country chart of accounts at all. But the reason as to why SAP has also provided you with this concept is whenever there is a unique requirement for a specific country. We faced this in one of the projects where we were taking care of Japan. Japan and China IS. Okay, they had some unique reporting requirement. So in that case, probably you may have to use the country chart of accounts. But if there is no such requirements, the country's chart of accounts is not mandatory. So now you have three charts of accounts: operational, group, and country. But only for your working purposes, the assignment of the or the creation of the operational chart of accounts is very, very essential for you to carry out the financial transactions for the business. Clear? So we also have a fair idea as to what is a variant principle. You may come across this question. Somebody may ask you as to, yeah, I heard something called as variant principle. Can you please tell me, since you have finished the SAP course, can you tell me what is a variant principle? So you should be in a position to tell as to what is a variant principle being followed in SAP. This not only applies to your chart of accounts, it applies to each and every organizational object or your organizational entity. Was this understood? So what is a chart of account? It is simply a huge list of all the general ledger accounts used by the business. I remember in one of my projects where we were taking care of a telecom company in the Netherlands. We had around 7,000 plus general ledger accounts used by that particular organization. And the business was spread across 23 to 24 countries. Okay. And we were using an operational chart of accounts, which was as huge as 7,000 plus general ledger accounts. And who is the owner of this particular chart of accounts? It is the finance consultant. Absolutely no requirement, or this activity 99 out of the 100 times will not be given to the end user. This is not the job of an end user. Okay. Was this clear? Let us go through a few more. So I hope, see, but their use is optional. This is mandatory, the operational COA, but the usage of your group and country chart of accounts is based on the requirement. It is not compulsory. Okay. See, one page or one slide, so many things to explain. It's only one slide, that's it. Nothing more. But do you know what is the impact of this? Did you understand what exactly it is? And please give me some time to tell you what is posting documents. It is nothing but your transactions. Putting in your financial transactions into the SAP system is called as posting documents. Posting is an activity of saving the transaction in the SAP system. Your document or your documents is the transaction. This is a document. Your stationery account debit to cash account is one document. Clear? I will explain this in detail. Okay. And saving this particular entry is the process is referred to as posting. I have still not come down to that concept. Just hold on. Okay. See, why is a country chart of accounts used? In order to fulfill the local accounting standards. He has also exemplified the European belt as France. It is assigned at the company code level. So everything needs to be assigned to a company code. This is the meaning of it. It has a deeper meaning. Just hold on. I'm waiting for the appropriate moment so that all these things will be in detail. Now, if I give you all the information, it may be a little confusing. Try to digest all this theoretically. If I show this to you on the SAP system practically, you will not be in a position to understand the concepts at all. Understand SAP conceptually if you want to grow. lots and lots of, and this particular SAP field is very, very cold in the sense the company for which you are implementing or you're working for, the other customer will be nasty, especially France. Please be very, very careful. They are not obliging. They will not be friendly to you. Okay, because their expectation will be something, and if you take things lightly, you had it. Okay. Usually there is a one-to-one relation between the operating COA and that of the company code, and that also just hold on there. Don't have to. Usually there is a one-to-one relationship between your chart of accounts and your operating COA and your company code. Okay, because it is mandatory that one company code must be assigned to only one operational chart of accounts. One company code cannot have more than one operational COA. Let me make that point. One company code cannot have more than one operational COA. Okay. But I will tell you the vice versa. One can be used by n company codes. Understood this point? Or is it contradicting? Let me explain the second line. One operational chart of accounts, it can be made use by more than one company code. Why is this? Now, let me take up this scenario. I am implementing or I am trying to bring in the SAP system into Reliance Group. I have Geo, I have Smart, Trends, Insurance, Petro, Reliance Fresh. So I can have one operating COA, one operational chart of accounts constituting the general ledger accounts to be used by all the businesses of Reliance. Did you get my point? I can be having one operational COA talking to Geo, talking to Smart, talking to Trends, talking to Insurance, talking to Petro, talking to Fresh, talking to some other businesses of Reliance. I can have only one operational chart of accounts having all the general ledger accounts suited to all the businesses of Reliance. That's why I said we had a huge master list of 7,000 plus general ledger accounts for one telecom industry or for one telecom company in Netherlands. You're able to visualize, or is it confusing? Just take 2 to 3 minutes of your time. Think about from the business entity. Think about from the business angle, how these statements are true and what is the meaning of these statements. I'll leave you for 2 to 3 minutes. Think over all the things, whatever has happened for the last half an hour as regards the chart or the charts of accounts. Take 2 more minutes. Kunal, do we have any questions? Kunal, are you there?
Yes, sir.
Any questions for me, Kunal?
I think we should
I
carry
just
on.
opened-
There are 2 questions right now.
I think I
We
saw
will
a
take
few.
it up
Just hold on,
afterwards.
Kunal. You said something, Kunal. We'll take it up.
Sir, we will take it up later on. There is only 2 questions.
Okay.
Right now, I think we
Right.
should
Okay, I
take it
saw
with
them.
the-
Sure. All right. So we'll go back to the. Please do not try to understand the account of the country chart of accounts is automatically assigned on a document level. Do not try to understand all the statements. That's why I said, as of now, you're still in a process of learning. You may or may not be in a position to relate to these lines. No problem. Don't bother about them. So as I said, the master data for the general ledger accounts is called as the chart of accounts. All right. Even before this slide, we saw something called as at the company code level. Some statement I saw, and I said, I'm going to talk to you about this a little later. Now, what does this line say? The definition of a general ledger account in FI is broken down into 2 different places or 2 different parts. One, you are defining the, it says click on each of the financial accounting to learn. This section of the general ledger account contains master data information that is identical for all the company codes. So I had made a statement where your Reliance Jio, Reliance Smart, Reliance Fresh, Reliance Petro, all these had one operational chart of accounts. Yeah, that's what it says. Identical for all company codes. This data is managed at the client level. So obviously it is quite natural, right? If I have designed a chart of accounts, an operational chart of accounts for Hindustan Unilever Limited, I'll be working on one client. It is not the customer. Please make sure that you are understanding the meaning of the client in the SAP terms. Right? So I said, I was just imagining that I was working for Reliance. I was working on a Hindustan Unilever project. I'm also working on the Tata's project. So I'll be having 3 different SAP systems. So I'll be working on 3 different clients. So can I assume that the Hindustan Unilever client on which I'm working on will be having the same master data as that of the Reliance SAP client, or maybe say even Tata SAP client? That's why it says this data is client specific. It is specific to one client only. Yeah. Now, what is the chart of accounts settings and what is this company code specific settings? I'll explain this. Okay, practically, I'll explain this. Now, I said I was working on a telecom project which was spread across 23 to 24 countries. So we had recognized each country as one company code. So the business was running in England, it was running in Australia, it was running in China, Japan. So all these places were considered to be different company codes. But the business was the same. Yeah, every country had the telecom business. The same company was established in all the 23 to 24 countries. The nature of the business was the same in all the countries. Now, suppose I'm imagining a very practical scenario. Let me assume that the telecom company had established its business in India also. So I said India was one company. Let me assume that in Asia, it was also working in Japan. It had also established its business in China. So we had 3 different company codes. Okay. Now, I may assume a scenario where in Japan and China, the same Netherlands business, telecom business, was operating on a rented space. They were paying rent for their business establishment. Correct? In China and Japan. In India, they had their own land so that they can carry out their business. So when my business starts operating on a rented space, I have to pay rent, right? So both the China and the Japan company codes, they have to pay rent. India need not have to pay rent. Correct? Now, just because India is not using the rent, do you think the rent account should not be available in the master record? The rent account should be very much present in the master chart of accounts, right? In the operational chart of accounts, whether one company code uses the general ledger account or not, it must definitely exist in the master. So any general ledger account, if it has to be created by the consultant, it has to be first created at the chart of accounts level, because chart of accounts is the master. Now, it all depends on whether the India company code uses that rent account because it is operating on the own land. Probably even Australia may be operating on the own land. So that's why India and Australia may necessarily not use the rent account. But China, Japan, probably say New Zealand, They were operating from the rented space. They need to pay the rent. But they are three different company codes using the same rent account because the rent account belongs to the same business. Now, did you understand? Now the rent account for New Zealand, Japan, and China must also exist at the company code level also. For the Indian and the Australian company code, it need not exist at the company code level because both the company codes are not using the rent account. But the other company codes which need to pay the rent, they need to have this rent account, rent general ledger account at both the levels. One at the master level, at the chart of accounts level, and as well as at the company code level. Clear? Was this understood? Not understood. I'll pause for 2 minutes because I know conceptually we are trying to understand SAP, and in the same frequency, we are also trying to understand what SAP is offering. See, these are all typical business scenarios, nothing different from what is happening or what is not happening in the normal businesses. Clear? Do you agree with me? So how SAP is handling all this? This is what requires theoretical explanation as far as the concepts are concerned. So if without this explanation, if somebody shows you all these things on the live SAP system without explaining all this, how much of this would you have understood? So showing something practically is fantastic, it is okay. But learning as to why and how the system is operating, what is the product offering you is more important than the working of the product itself. You should know the features. You should know what SAP is doing. Clear? Just take a minute more to digest all the things, whatever I have said. Just a minute more. We'll go back to the course content. So he has explained what part of the general ledger account, what information. Suppose if you take a rent account or maybe say even your stationery expense account, what portion of that particular information is contained at the chart of accounts level and what portion of information is contained at the company code level. Okay, probably you may not be able to relate this until unless I show something on the system. Don't worry. But you should be very, very aware that to be able to use an account in the general ledger of a company code, the company code specific settings along with the chart of accounts settings is necessary. So for the company code to transact using a specific general ledger account, the general ledger account must be available at both your chart of accounts level and your company code level also. Yeah. This is a wonderful example. Your account number will 99 out of the 100 times will be numbers. 65001000 is the English explanation for that is a purchased services general ledger account. Your purchased services general ledger account is identified by this particular number, general ledger account. This is the general ledger account name. Okay, this is typically how we define a general ledger account. But why such a number? Why not some number 1000 something like that? The naming or the coding of the general ledger account also uses a specific logic. Okay, it definitely uses a logic. For example, if you want me to explain this, if you have is the plant and machinery account. I left some space. Let's say land and building. This is the general ledger accounts. 1000 is the general ledger account for plant and machinery account. 2000 is the general ledger account for your land and building. Capitalization. I'm talking about the capitalization. Acquisition. 3000 is the clear. Now, under this, I may be having depreciation for plant and machinery. Of course, you don't have land and building depreciation is not there, but I'm just assuming. Are you getting this? Now let me also accumulated depreciation. Accumulated depreciation. Did you see the codes? 101000 is the plant and machinery acquisition or the capitalization general ledger account. 1010 is your accumulated depreciation for plant and machinery. I will tell you what is the logic. So every asset transaction pertaining to plant and machinery is starting with 10. every transaction, asset related transaction in regards to land and building has a 20, starts with 20, vehicles 30. You may have furniture and fixtures 40. So do you see the logic? It is simply not a number. It follows a specific logic, and we as finance consultants, we are responsible to follow this particular logic also. There has to be some logic having these general ledger accounts. It is just not 1, 2, 3, 4 numbers. No, each should have a definite meaning. Did you see this? This is your balance sheet accumulated depreciation. This is your current year depreciation. 1020 is the general ledger account for your current year depreciation, profit and loss account. So like this, you should be in a position to design your chart of accounts logically. There has to be some logic. It cannot be some random numbers. Yeah. So this is what it says. 65001000. Probably this is how they would have started their general ledger account numbers. So they would have followed their own numbering logic. Clear? There are something called as open items, line items. Okay, just hold on. We have not still reached. I can tell you theoretically, but you may not be in a position to appreciate. Yeah. Now, do you see the importance of theory? So many things to understand theoretically. So, if at all, so we spoke about the integration between modules. Now, this is typically an example. He's talking about how the finance module is talking to the CO module. So this starts from the way you design your general ledger accounts. I will stop here. OK. As far as the integration between your FI and your CO module is concerned. But all I'm stressing upon is there is a way you establish the link between the FI and the CO modules through the general ledger account itself. Yeah. How you define the general ledger account so that the information also flows to the controlling module. All right. So there are certain settings which, or you need to have unique properties. You need to change the properties of a normal general ledger account to that of a general ledger accounts, which is going to impact the controlling module. Clear? So I'm not going to explain this in detail, okay? Because it is, I feel it's a little premature for you to understand this. GL account master data defines how business transactions are posted. So the first and the foremost bifurcation. So when I took you to the Excel sheet, these two are balance sheet accounts. This is your P&L account. Kunal, there seems to be some noise. Definitely. Rafia has asked a question. Can you show us SAP software and practical process in any session? Let's wait for it. Okay. I must be definitely showing you this, but please hold. Okay. Are you finding the sessions interesting? Or I know as and when we proceed, things may sound a little complex, right? But are you finding it interesting or forget about the theory and the practicals? We are dealing with the theory as of now. Okay. Practical, apart from that, how do you feel the sessions are happening? Somebody has said yes, sir. For what? Is it going good or not going good, interesting, difficult, little bit boring? Okay. Interesting. Okay. All right. Oh, wonderful. You've already worked on SAP ML. Okay. So except for maybe say one or two. Yeah. Let us see from when we can touch upon the practical side. I do understand a lot of theory will make sessions a little boring. Slow and steady, good going. Okay, good. Assignment probably may not be possible because uh, you may not be in a position to take up the projects as of now. Yeah, I do understand. Rafia, I'm with you saying that a little boring because of the theory. Yeah, but you will see how interesting this theory is once when you really lay your hands on the SAP system. Yeah. Yeah. See, the reason I can really finish off the topics in say 1 or 2 hours, it's not a big task for me. But how much of you see me finishing and going is not a big thing. But what is it that you have understood? This question, what Mr. Anish has asked, should be answered by the other side. Okay, so I will be going at this pace. Okay, though it is slow and though a lot of theory, though boring, you will really appreciate the boredom once when I take you to the SAP systems. You will see things will be happening just at the it'll be happening so very fast. Okay. The assignments, let us see. Let's work on that. All right. So on the whole, I can just conclude that things are going good. Slow pace because we are just in the third day. You can't expect a lot of things happening in 2 or 3 days. All right. And you people, you have not said the learning has increased. Do you agree with me? Has the learning increased? Some new concepts day in and day out, correct? So you will see you'll be bombarded with lots and lots of concepts. When we talk about the integration, you will see how you need to understand not only the finance, but also the other modules. So till now we